Hey guys, this is Matt for Creative. I'm on my roof right now. I'm just about to have dinner, just grilling something. But so the video I just made was a protest that was happening in Times Square. I just wanted to acknowledge that there were a few other protests too in New York City on May 30th, which is a Saturday. Currently was, maybe when you watch. And I didn't know anything about this. I mean, sometimes you hear some things on social media, like there is the entire, I don't know what you would call it, just like everybody is coming out in support for George Floyd and that he was murdered by police. It's a terrible thing. And of course, you know, the protests are going on in Minneapolis and here in New York, Chicago too, and the videos that I'm seeing are just out of control. So just a recap, I happened to be city biking, back to Port Authority to go back to New Jersey. When I saw in the distance, because I'm going by Times Square, there were fire trucks and there seemed to be some sort of odd congestion around Times Square, and I didn't know what to think about it at the time, but I decided to get off the bike, you know, dock it, go somewhere else, and it worked out fine because I was able to get right at Times Square. If you know where the steps are at Times Square, that's right above the ticket booth that you would buy Broadway show tickets, that's exactly where it was. And I can't remember, I think it was 43rd Street, no, maybe 45th Street, 46th Street, and right where that ticket counter is. And there was people just kind of sitting and standing and holding up signs, and there was a police presence there already. But then if you're facing Central Park, so if you're looking up Manhattan, off to the left you start seeing these police coming, and they're saying, clear the streets, you'll be arrested if you don't clear the streets. So I immediately, because I'm filming, I'm basically media at this point, because this is why I'm there. I'm just trying to see what the protest is like here in New York City. And I move off to the side. As soon as it gets to that point where they intersect with the protesters that are there, there's some turmoil. There's people kind of like scattering because some people start throwing water bottles from the protester side, and if you see the video you can actually see it, and there's a lot of people taking photos, taking videos too. I just happened to have my camera there, and again, I heard things were going to go on in Harlem, but yeah, they took place at Times Square, Union Square, the Lower East Side, going up, was it First Avenue or Avenue A, and what else was it? One of the parks too, but I didn't know anything about what was going on, and now I hear that there's more going to go on Sunday. All right, so people started throwing water bottles. The police did not really react other than moving forward, and then the group of people that was kind of in the intersection there, they moved away, and some of them started moving downwards of Manhattan and through Times Square, and they started going off into the intersection. So if you know Times Square, it kind of goes like this. They were walking here in this way, walking down Times Square, and they went for maybe a block and a half, and then it kind of got slow and the crowd dispersed. So I thought that was kind of it, but in fact, I think the protesters were moving down to 8th Avenue. So going left in the direction that the police were coming to kind of stop people from doing this. So that's kind of where Port Authority bus terminal is, and I have to walk in that direction, so I started filming there. And so I could see in the distance, I did see a group of people moving, but then once I got to 8th Avenue myself, there was no one there. So I thought, okay, maybe this is it. I was going to cut the video. You know, I try to cut the video like 5 times. But then there was a small group coming down. And this was a completely peaceful protest. Nothing was going on. There were police in front of Port Authority blocking that because they didn't want anybody going inside for whatever reason. And because of that, I couldn't go inside and take my bus. So I decided to keep on filming. And this group of people, about half a block's worth of people. Just continued walking down, but in the distance I could see that there were a group of police officers there waiting for them, but that was too far off in the distance that I couldn't really see, so I didn't go there at that point. I kind of stayed where I was and just waited for the bus terminal to be open and just go. All in all, one of the most quiet and peaceful protests that I've seen in New York, and of course around the country too, because you can see people on both sides are getting manhandled just for whatever reason, because people are justifiably upset at what's going on. But this, thankfully, because I was right in the middle, and I was using this lens, so it's a very wide angle lens. I can't shoot from far away and see what's going on. I have to actually be in the action. So once those water bottles started flying, I just wanted to get out of the way, because I didn't know if any pepper spray was going to go on, if people were going to be arrested, if I was going to be arrested for who knows what, just for being around there. So just thinking about my own safety, I decided to move down. And again, it's because I had this lens that's really like, it captures a wide area here. I decided it was just best to move. But I have heard that there were about 30 arrests for a protest that took place around the Barclays Center, I believe, on Friday. So that's pretty insane. And there are people, unfortunately, you can see there's one key video that really got me upset of I think it was like a black teenage girl. She was very skinny. She was like maybe under 100 pounds, and you can't see in the clip what happened before, but a police officer much larger than her literally just shoves her, and it's just like a rag doll falling over, and I believe she hits her head. And then I hear a report. Of course, it's rumor. I don't know the person, and I'm watching the clip just like everyone else. I believe she goes to the hospital too. But seeing things like that, it's something you don't want to see. A lot of people are keeping their composure. Of course, I believe, is it Atlanta, is it Minneapolis, where they're rioting and looting? It's not going on like that here in New York City, at least not yet. Maybe in Brooklyn it was a little bit more intense than it was here, but I saw this big flash. I wonder what that was. I heard people comment too. I don't know if anything's going on in the city right now. It's actually 9:37. I would imagine that people are kind of just, they're not really, I think they're probably done protesting, maybe this time of night, but it's insane seeing this around the country. Now, I'm removed from this. I only hear about this when I see things on Instagram and Facebook, and it's terrible what's going on. I guess I had not actually seen the video. I had seen the photo of the officer on George Floyd's neck. Now, of course, there are different angles, so you can see that there are 3 officers on him. One was on his neck, and it's rough to see because the video goes longer and longer, and I could only imagine myself in that position being held like that, because you know that there are other ways to hold somebody like that, so it's a little bit difficult to see. And that's all I can say. I believe that the act was wrong. I'm glad that the officer was arrested. I do expect the other officers to also be arrested that were around, because they were actually providing force. Now, I don't know if they'll be brought up on murder charges as well as coming together as a whole, but even the people that are on the side, they kind of were they were not helping as well, the police officers. So I honestly don't know what's going to be happening of this. I know that one officer was charged and arrested. I believe at this point it's going to take more than that to actually get any kind of protest to quell down. I thought this was going to be a quiet weekend. I thought the protests were going to be localized in Minneapolis, and then I heard, of course, Atlanta and now Chicago and New York. But again, New York, at least from what I've seen, there were a lot of people, I believe, around the Lower East Side, but walking, not really interacting, at least with the videos that I've seen, interacting with police. I think the most extreme was in Brooklyn. So if you choose to go out and support your cause, just be careful. Just be careful, because this is kind of like a difficult thing. I do support protesting. In terms of looting businesses, I think that maybe crosses the line. Rioting and creating a fuss, I think, does something. And I am a person who believes you can be against something in particular and be for something as a whole. So maybe this is where some of my inner conflict is. Something definitely needs to be done on a systemic level in the entire country, if not the entire world. But it kind of is rough to see looting and just rioting, stuff like that, when you know people are getting hurt. Maybe not the people who are the intended targets. So we'll see exactly what this is about. So yeah, this is just an update on the video. If you have any questions, put that in the comment section below. You can find me on Instagram at m8b9. You can email me at matt8b9@gmail.com. And thank you so much for watching, and I will have more videos on this and other topics soon. See you guys.